Today, I'm going to show you how to enable HDR in Steam and on Heroic Games launchers. Super easy, takes 30 seconds. First, we're going to boot into a game that supports HDR, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and show you that HDR is not enabled. We'll throw this command in our command line properties for this game, for the profile, and we'll see that it's enabled. We'll have options, and because of how I'm recording it, I'm not going to show you the differences and how it looks. I'm just going to show you how to enable it. So we'll load up the game real quick, and instead of going into a save game, let's go straight to graphics. And right here is where I would expect to see HDR options. We don't see that. So we'll close, quit, and then go to settings and properties, and under launch options, Proton enable Wayland equals 1, which is required for it to work. I don't know what Wayland is. I'm sorry. I know that there's a difference between X11 and Wayland. I don't know what they are. I don't even know what X11 or Wayland does. I'm not going to pretend to know. I'm not a true Linux guy. I'm a guy that switched from Linux to Windows. I just want to play games. And then we have Proton underscore enable underscore HDR equals 1. %, command %. Close out of that. Click on play. Here, go back to options, graphics, and we have HDR luminance right here. So I'll go back, continue. Actually, I want to load. This is where I left off in my playthrough. I might get back to it someday. I don't know. Maybe. Fortunately, I don't think the HDR implementation for Rebirth is that great. It looks a little cloudy to me. Not sure why. I don't know if it's like a setting I have. And go here and turn down HDR luminance. I'll turn up the brightness too much. And I don't think HDR luminance is going to go through. And I have on my monitor the ability to change the peak, the nits, peak white. So I think that looks okay for me. Obviously, you can't see it through the recording. But yeah, the big thing is, just to show you that it is working and the game reads HDR, is this right here. So we'll quit the game. And even for Rebirth, I may just not use HDR. I don't even think it looks that great. At least not for that game. Next up is the Heroic Games launcher games. I will show you Witcher 3. So it's a little bit different. We'll go into our game settings. We'll go to advanced. And then here we're going to just add Proton, enable. Oh, I didn't do that. Basically those two commands that we had here. Proton, enable, Wayland in our variable name. And then here in this field, we're just going to put in 1 to turn it on. I meant to click on. this button before, we see Proton enable HDR. And we click the add sign just to make sure it saves. I want to double check and make sure that that was correct. Proton enable Wayland. Got it. And then we click play. That's right here, HDR settings. There is also, I'm going to bring this up in your display configuration. Monitors that support HDR have the option to turn it on here. And I think that only works for videos, because I'm going to try the Witcher 3 again. Actually, that looks pretty good. I'm not going to complain about that. Video, HDR settings. Yeah, I think, at least on my end, that looks pretty good. I wouldn't complain about that. Just waiting for the foliage to load. Still can't believe how good this game looks.
Greetings.
I'm going to try Remake Intergrade just to show you real quick. I already have the HDR options, HDR variables put in here, options, graphic settings, and with Intergrade, we always had the option here to turn on dynamic range, but it does not look washed out on my screen, where if HDR was not working properly, it would look very washed out. So make sure that when you start this, you have HDR turned on here. Always calibrate your HDR brightness. And I just want to get back into Rebirth real quick just to see how this looks. Not that you guys can see, but maybe I can just provide some commentary. All right, so after recalibrating, it looks pretty good. It looks less washed out. Yeah, after I turn on the brightness down to 0, I think that looks good. At least from my perspective. So, I'm not going to record in HDR. I don't have the patience to mess around with those settings in OBS. And I know that not every game I play supports HDR, like Expedition 33 does not. So, I don't know, maybe I will. Let me know in the comments. Should I record in HDR? Not that I do a lot of gameplay videos these days, but I might pick it up soon. I got a request to start playing this again, so we'll see. But that is my video on setting up HDR. My non-expert, not going to pretend I know what I'm talking about with color spaces and different Linux technologies like X11 and Wayland. Just giving you the command to put in and see how it works. So that will do it for today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or need any help or anything of that like. Later.